Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. So we're on zombie number 3 in our Star Wars Zombies series. So far, you guys rated the Rat Ghouls a respectable 3.2 out of 5, and you gave Project Blackwing 4.42 out of 5. Wow, that's pretty high. Now I wonder if today's zombies will be able to beat these other two. And it's really up to you guys. Now the first two zombies we talked about were both results of Sith alchemy and man-made viruses. The zombies we'll be talking about today are 100% organic, non-GMO, cage-free, and grass-fed. Well, I don't know if Geonosis has grass on it. It probably doesn't. Geonosians had it pretty rough. To start off, their planet was extremely hostile to most living things. Millions of years before the Battle of Yavin, a rogue comet destroyed the planet's largest moon. Unfortunately for the Geonosians, they didn't have the power of Bruce Willis and Steven Tyler to protect them from the giant fragments of rocks that hit the surface of the world and killed over 99% of all life on the planet. It's kind of like Purell, but in the form of giant rocks. Since then, periodic asteroid strikes and mass extinction continued to whittle down life on Geonosis until all that was left was the toughest and most tenacious living things, which were the Geonosians and some red algae. To make things even worse, the planet also had a very weak magnetic field, so the surface was constantly bombarded by radiation. The Geonosians, like those scumbags from the Jersey Shore, developed some basic protection against solar radiation. For the Geonosians, it was in the form of an exoskeleton. But for safety, the majority of Geonosians lived underground in a planet-wide system of tunnels. Now, one of the reasons why the Geonosians were able to survive as long as they did was their rigid social structure and caste system. The most common were the worker drones. They were wingless and life was pretty bad for them. If they didn't die in a factory or a construction accident, they'd probably get killed in the arena trying to advance their social status. Then there's the warrior caste that watched over them. They had wings and could fly. In Geonosis society, the idea of individuality was all but conditioned out. The most important things for all Geonosians was to protect and serve the hive. There were several hives on Geonosis, and war was constantly being fought between rival factions. The leader of the most powerful ruling hive was also considered the ruler of Geonosis, and referred to as the Archduke. During the Clone Wars, the Archduke of the Geonosians was Poggle the Lesser. Like the game of Boggle, Poggle was full of surprises. Unknown to the Republic and most of the galaxy, the Geonosians actually had two other secret castes. The Archduke might have been the public face and political leader of Geonosis, but even he served the queen of his hive. These monstrous beings were enormous, over 8.6 meters in height. The majority of their body mass was made up by a giant egg sac, which had the ability to lay up to one egg roughly every 8 seconds, which is about twice as fast as the average reload speed of a flintlock musket. The queen was served by a special caste that were assigned to protect her temple. They were so loyal that they wouldn't hesitate giving their lives for their queen. Literally. Which is why they were called the zombie caste. Using brainworms, the Geonosian queen was able to control the minds of all those who were infected. In the case of Queen Karina the Great, the brainworms were able to reanimate dead Geonosians. The parasite infected hosts by crawling up their nose and attaching themselves to their brain. I like to imagine the process being like brain freeze, but salty. During the second battle of Geonosis, Anakin Skywalker and Obi Wan Kenobi were searching for Jedi Master Luminara. Unknown to them, she had been captured by Queen Karina. The Queen hoped to use a brainworm and turn the Jedi Master into one of her thralls. Skywalker and Kenobi, along with a small team of clone troopers, followed Master Luminara's trail into the catacombs of the Protogo Temple. There they were ambushed by Queen Karina's undead servants. These zombies were extremely tough to kill. Even a shot to the head of the host wasn't enough to slow them down. One needed to either destroy the brainworm or dismember enough of the host's limbs so that they could no longer move. What made this brainworm even more terrifying was that it didn't significantly change the appearance of the host when it infected humans. After Skywalker and Kenobi destroyed the Protogo Temple on Geonosis, a few brainworms made it off the planet after infecting one of the members of Tango Squadron. While the clones were on transit aboard a medical frigate, the rest of the eggs hatched and spread amongst the rest of the occupants of the ship. While infected, the hosts were able to speak relatively normally and were very high functioning. This was perhaps because the hosts were still alive and their nervous system was intact and functioning correctly. The Geonosians' undead zombies moved at a much slower pace and acted more like traditional zombies. This gave the zombie hive mind a lot of flexibility in infiltration methods, making it extremely dangerous. The applications of the brainworm is endless. You can easily infiltrate an enemy camp with one of your own agents, have them gather information, sabotage operations, or even assassinate high-profile targets. It's the perfect espionage and political weapon. Even after the Queen was supposedly crushed to death, the brainworms were still able to act under their own initiative. And even if the Queen was still alive, the brainworms were far removed from her location, so these zombies aren't limited by their range to the hive mind, like the airborne strain of Project Blackwing. However, the brainworms are limited by a few very serious weaknesses. Extreme cold would force the brainworm to exit the infected, leaving the host alive. The second weakness was, unlike the Rackles and the Sickness, this zombie infestation needed one brainworm for each host, so it wasn't able to transmit itself and grow as quickly as these other diseases. We're not really sure how these parasites are hatched. They might come directly from the Queen herself, or maybe they can reproduce amongst themselves. As with most things in the Clone Wars, they don't really go too deep into how things work, so it leaves us lacking the amount of details I usually like to have when I'm doing these videos, but hopefully we'll see the brainworms pop up again in another canon property. But anyway guys, let me know what you think about the brainworms. And don't forget to give them a rating in the polls. I'll tally up everything and let you guys know which zombie you guys voted as the most deadliest at the end of the series. And then I'll do a special video featuring just them. And maybe we'll expose Ben to one of these viruses, see what happens. It should be interesting. Anyway guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss out on the rest of the videos in this series. And as usual guys, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.